It was a blistering afternoon in the bustling city of Lagos, Nigeria. The sun blazed fiercely, and the streets buzzed with life. Everywhere you looked, people moved with purpose, rushing to make ends meet. Among them, a young boy named Toby. The Lagos sun burned down, casting long shadows along the bustling streets as Toby stood face to face with Azizi, the dreaded policeman. Toby's bronze skin glimmered with sweat, but his determination was evident in the calm way he stood. The weight of his fruit basket, balanced on his head, felt light compared to the weight of the situation. Behind him, the murmur of the crowd grew, their eyes shifting between Toby and Azizi. Everyone was waiting for what would happen next. The heat seemed to intensify as the minutes passed, making the tension almost unbearable. Azizi's large frame loomed over the young man, but Toby didn't flinch. The policeman's nostrils flared with irritation, his eyes narrowing as he tried to intimidate the boy standing before him. "I told you, boy," Azizi spat, "this is my turf. You can't just come here and sell fruits without paying me. It's the law." Toby's gaze remained unwavering. "You don't make the laws, officer. You enforce them. And the law doesn't say you can take money from people just because you feel like it." Azizi's lips curled into a sneer. "You think you know the law? You think you can talk to me like that, huh?" He stepped closer, trying to tower over Toby with his imposing frame. Toby didn't back down. His voice was firm but calm. "I may not know all the laws, but I know right from wrong. What you're doing is wrong. You can't take advantage of the people who are just trying to survive." The crowd that had gathered around them began to murmur in agreement. Toby could feel their eyes on him, the weight of their silent support giving him strength. He wasn't just standing up for himself anymore, he was standing up for everyone who had ever been bullied or extorted by people like Azizi. Azizi paused. For a split second, the hard edge in his eyes softened. He had seen many street vendors before, many who would cower, pay the bribe, and go about their day. But not Toby. The young man's words seemed to pierce through him like an unexpected bolt of lightning. He wasn't just a naive boy trying to sell fruit, he was someone with a purpose, someone with a backbone. Azizi took a step back, almost uncertain. But then, with a deep, frustrated breath, he scowled, trying to regain his authority. "What's your name, boy?" he barked. "Toby," the young boy said, standing tall. "Toby Adebayo." Azizi nodded slowly, as if processing the name. The sun beat down relentlessly on both of them, but Toby felt a strange warmth in his chest. It wasn't from the heat, but from the pride that surged through him. It was the pride of standing up for what was right, even in the face of fear. Even in the face of a man who held all the power. The policeman exhaled sharply and turned away, his steps slow, as though his mind was grappling with something he didn't want to admit. The crowd fell into an uneasy silence, all eyes trained on Azizi's every move. Some of them expected him to lash out. After all, that's what he had always done. But today, something had shifted. Azizi stopped midway to his car, the weight of the situation pressing down on him. He hesitated, then slowly turned back toward Toby. The young man was still standing there, his posture strong, his eyes unwavering. "You're not afraid of me, are you?" Azizi asked, his voice a mixture of curiosity and something else, maybe respect. Maybe doubt. "No," Toby replied simply. "Why should I be? You're just a man, like me." Azizi snorted, but there was no venom in it this time. "You've got guts, kid," he muttered, almost to himself. "You've got more guts than most people I know." The crowd was silent, watching every word, every movement. Toby's heart beat a little faster, but he stood his ground. "I'm just trying to survive," Toby said, his voice steady. "We all are. I'm not asking for much. Just to be allowed to sell my fruits and take care of my family. If I have to pay a toll, I'll do it the right way, through the proper channels." Azizi's gaze softened for the briefest moment. "You think it's easy for me, huh?" he asked, his voice quieter now. "You think I just walk around collecting bribes for fun?" Toby blinked, surprised by the shift in Azizi's tone. For the first time, the policeman didn't seem like the typical corrupt official. He seemed human. Toby looked into his eyes, seeing something there that he hadn't expected. Guilt? Weariness? "Life isn't easy for anyone, officer," Toby said, his voice gentler. "But that doesn't mean we get to make it harder for others. We're all just trying to make it through another day." Azizi stood there, unmoving, as though weighing Toby's words carefully. The minutes stretched on, the silence between them heavy. And then, finally, Azizi lowered his eyes and sighed. "You're right," he muttered. "You're right." For a moment, it felt like the entire world stood still. The crowd, who had been waiting for the inevitable confrontation to escalate, now found themselves stunned by the unexpected turn of events. As Izzy stepped forward and looked Toby square in the eye. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. It's not your fault. And you're right, I have been taking advantage of people for too long." Toby's heart skipped a beat. Was this the same as Izzy who had terrorized the streets, extorting money from anyone who crossed his path? The policeman continued, his voice low. "I've been struggling, too. My job, it doesn't pay much. And sometimes it feels like the only way to get by is to do what I've been doing." Toby nodded slowly, understanding. "I get it. But we can't keep hurting each other. There's a better way." As Izzy nodded, his face shadowed with shame. "You've taught me something today, boy. I've been on the wrong side for too long." Without saying another word, as Izzy turned and walked toward his patrol car, his steps slower now, as though carrying a weight he hadn't felt before. The crowd watched in stunned silence as he got into the vehicle and started the engine. But before driving away, he turned to look at Toby one last time. "You have my word," as Izzy said. "I won't be doing this again. Not to you. Not to anyone." And with that, he drove off, leaving Toby standing in the street, his heart pounding but his spirit soaring. The crowd erupted in quiet murmurs, exchanging glances, still processing what had just happened. Some were amazed, others, still cautious, weren't sure they believed it. But Toby knew the truth. He had stood his ground. He had made a difference, not just for himself, but for everyone who had ever been pushed around by the corrupt system. Toby adjusted the basket on his head, his feet moving forward once again. This time, however, he wasn't just walking toward the marketplace. He was walking with a newfound strength, a belief that the world didn't have to be as unfair as it seemed. If a young boy like him could stand up to a corrupt policeman, maybe, just maybe, the world could change. The people of Lagos watched him go, their faces filled with awe. For some, Toby was just a boy selling fruit. For others, he was something much more. A symbol of courage. A beacon of hope. And as the streets of Lagos bustled on, Toby knew his fight was far from over. But for the first time in his life, he believed that change was possible, one stand at a time.